This is the Kick-Ass Geek Cast for Halloween, Friday, October 31st, 2014. I am your host, Daddy Warpig, and I am back. Alrighty then, the theme for tonight's show, apropos as you would expect, is scary Gamergate stories just in time for Halloween. We've got a scary story of the deep, dark plans of the vast teeming millions of Gamergate supporters to destroy the world of online video games journalism. We've got scary stories of privilege. But first, scary events on Twitter. And I will confess, I did not know exactly how scary Twitter could be until today. You may not have heard, but starting about 4 or 5 hours ago, bots went on a mass spam reporting rampage. We had people's accounts getting suspended left and right. Daniel Vavra, the Eastern European developer who is a large part of Gamergate, was taken offline for a false report of spamming. I lost in the space of about half an hour 35 or so followers who got taken down. So it was a bad deal. Fortunately for me, and fortunately for you, I had an ally tweet out some important tips on how to avoid being banned. So I retweeted those tips, spread them as far and as wide as I could. Unfortunately, they aren't necessarily going to help you right now, except maybe one of them. But, and here is the important thing, if you start using them today and continue using them into the future, you should be safe from events like this. Here's the serious thing, folks. All that happened today was a bunch of accounts got reported for the first time for spamming. The thing is, you only get 2 strikes. The first time is a warning. If your account got suspended, if it got bumped today, you got a warning. You click through a dialog box, you get back on Twitter. Okay, easy. Nothing to worry about. But, if it happens again, it's permanent. That's it. Kiss your account goodbye. Unless you're a very high-profile person and you can get enough juice to have Twitter reinstate it like Thunderfoot did. But remember how long it took to get his account back? And ask yourself this: do you personally have enough juice with Twitter to get your account back after someone falsely reports you for spam for the second time? I don't. So I have been given a series of tips, was passed to me by someone you may have heard of before, Adam Baldwin, passed to me an article with these tips in it. These were originally posted on Twitter a couple of years ago. I went to retweet them, couldn't do it, so I reposted them today. They are available in my feed, and I'll even post an archive.today link that was graciously created for me. I will post an archive.today link in the comments after the show so you yourself can see these tips, can have them around. This is a hat tip to the person who created the archive.today link, is C Kensu77. Very, very helpful for everybody involved, because then you don't have to depend on my tweets just in case they disappear as well. Also, what I'm going to do is we're going through this. I'm going to give some explanation where needed, because a few people have been confused as to why some of these tips are the way they are. Last but not least, if you have been listening to the Ivy Clover, as she has been posting a lot of these tips, you will have already been following. And if you haven't, shame on you. Starting at the top, tip number 1. Train yourself to never start a tweet with the @ symbol. This automatically happens when you click reply. If you reply to someone, put a period before the first @. So why are we doing that? This is the biggest one I got the most questions on. Here's why. Suppose I'm a spam bot and I want to send out spam to people. I want you to get a spam message from me. How am I going to do that? If I just post it and tweet it out like a normal tweet, no one's going to see it unless they stumble across my page or unless they follow me. So if I want to send spam out to people, I have to send it to them directly. And in order to send it to them directly, you put the @ symbol followed by their handle, right? We all know that. We use Twitter. So here's the reason why. Sending out a lot of tweets that begin with the @ symbol is suspicious, because that's what spam bots do. When Twitter receives a spam report, complaint from your account, they create an aggregate score based on suspicious activity you've engaged in. Have you reposted the same link a large number of times in a short period? Do you repost that same link a large number of times in a short period to a large number of accounts directly? Or just engage in direct sending of any kind? The number of reports they get, plus a score based on how suspicious your behavior is what determines whether or not your account gets suspended when they get a report. So the more times you're reported and the more suspicious your behavior, the more likely you are to get bumped off. Now that makes sense, doesn't it? Makes perfect sense why spammers do it. Makes perfect sense how that integrates into an overall score of whether Twitter thinks you're a spammer or not. This is the thing. It's all automatic. It all happens through programs and algorithms. No human being takes a look at this, so far as I know, because there's too many users of Twitter and it's too easy to create burner accounts. We'll come back to that in tip number 5. So if you want to protect yourself from being falsely flagged as a spammer like these assholes were doing today, don't begin replies with the @. Yes, that has an unfortunate side effect. You're going to be spamming your followers with every single thing you send out, not just stuff you want them to see. Well, frankly, if you are the kind of person who is high profile enough to be getting false flagged, to be getting falsely reported for spam, you're just going to have to live with it. I'm sorry, that's a side effect of how Twitter works. This is how you protect yourself. Tip number 2. Now, again, let me reiterate. I did not create these tips. I am passing them on to you as the knowledge and wisdom accumulated by people who have been engaging in bitter debates on Twitter for years. These tips were first posted 2 years ago. So this is not my knowledge. This is the knowledge of people who've been doing this for a long time, how to avoid what they call the Twitter gulag. Tip number 2, never engage with an egg account ever. 2 reasons. 1, and this is my explanation now. 1, they're highly likely to be someone using a burner account. And by the way, this is in the context of arguments. This is not in the context of someone saying, oh, I like what you did there, or whatever. This is in the context of someone who seems hostile or is suspicious, engaging in suspicious behavior. Don't engage them. Don't fight them is what the original poster, Todd Kincannon, is saying. Don't argue with them. If they're an egg account, it's too easy to create burner accounts, like I said. So there's a good chance that they may be someone suspicious, third-party troll or an anti-troll or even a spam bot. When you see an egg, it means they haven't taken the time to upload a picture. It's suspicious. Be suspicious. Don't fight them. Don't argue with them. Don't let them troll you. Now, wait. What does that remind me of? Don't let them troll you. Why? It reminds me of that old saying we've been passing around. Don't touch the poop. If you've been avoiding poop touching all this time, you will have avoided a lot of the behaviors I'm about to talk about, and that includes don't engage with egg accounts. Again, everybody started off as an egg, but those who have taken the time to upload a picture show they have at least a little bit of investment in Twitter. Tip number 3, if someone is harassing you or seems too eager to attack, just block them. Don't think twice about it. Simple, straightforward. If someone is trolling you, if they're trying to rile you up, if they're throwing insults and shit posting at you, block them. That's it, period, end of discussion. Once again, don't touch the poop. Tip number 4, if you are engaged in a fight with an SJW or an anti, and his buddies jump in and attack you, ignore them. The more you spread out your replies, the more people you piss off, the more likely it is you'll get falsely reported for spam, and the less likely it is you'll be effective anyway. All right? Don't let yourself be jumped. Don't let yourself be the target of a gang of trolls or even just a gang of angry people. If you're talking to one person, stick with that one person. If they're worth talking to, if they become trollish, block them, move on. Tip number 5, and this is the most important tip of all. If I had been writing this list, this would have been number 1. Like I said, I'm reporting somebody else's list to practice safe tweeting. Tip number 5, create a second account in case your primary account is suspended. It's easy to create a burner email address, yahoo.com, Gmail, Hotmail, whatever. You use that to create a secondary account. Maybe a third if you're paranoid. I did. And you keep those accounts around for when or if you get falsely reported for spam and permanently banned. Remember, a second ban is permanent. The only way you will ever tweet on Twitter again is with another account, or you're famous enough to get the CEO of Twitter to intervene on your behalf. Listen to these people who wrote this list. They are wise. Create a second account and keep it around. Don't lose the password. Tip 5B for your second account. Make sure the profile in your second account states it's a backup account for your main account. 5C. Use the same avatar and background for your secondary account that you use for your primary account. That way people recognize you. I would add 5D, which is take the time to let your followers know you have a backup account during times of increased tension, which describes all of Gamergate. This is a time of increased tension. You should pass along and this is just my opinion. If this goes badly wrong, I apologize. You should pass along your secondary account to followers so they can follow it already, so that by the time something bad happens to your original account, you're already up and running again. If you get a message from one of your, from someone you're following who says, hey, this is my backup account, follow it. That way you are ready in case they get bumped off, okay? Mutual protection. What we have here is a social media network where people talk to other people and information gets passed along horizontally. The way we fight incidents like today is we preserve the integrity of the network. That means you preserve the links between you and your followers, and you preserve the link between you and people you're following. Set up backup accounts, follow backup accounts of people you're following. Okay? Simple. If we want to be resilient against these kinds of attacks, we can move instantly and transparently to backup accounts. And nobody has to panic. Nobody has to worry. The more effort you invest now, and it's not that much effort, the easier it would be to recover when something permanent happens, and it can and it does. Remember Thunderfoot. Tip number 6. Before engaging an attacker, check to see how many followers they have. If under 100, totally ignore them. It's easy to buy fake followers on Twitter. I've seen ads for it. I've been spammed for it. But most spam accounts, most bot accounts that I've seen have, at least the ones that have been created for use in Gamergate, because they're brand new, they're only a couple of months old. They have less than 100 followers because they haven't had time or money to build up followers on their account. So if they have less than 100 followers, now again, this is their advice. I'm just telling you why I think it's good. If they have under 100, totally ignore them. Also, now again, that's in the context of someone attacking you, someone coming at you, someone insulting you, someone calling you names. I had someone come at me earlier tonight. I looked at their followers. They had like 36 followers. I looked at the people they're tweeting with. Most of them were antis. I blocked them. Didn't even answer the question. Blocked them, moved on. Didn't report them for spam because I'm not a scumbag, but I blocked them and moved on. Didn't even think twice. Tip number 7. Before engaging an attacker, check to see how many tweets they have. If under 1,000, totally ignore them. If they have less than 1,000 tweets, they have not been active on Twitter very long. There's a good chance this is a shill account or a bot account or a troll account. You can just, and they're attacking you. I'm not talking about polite people who are engaging you. I'm talking about someone coming at you, trying to attack you, trying to insult you, trying to pass you information about other members of the pro ethics, pro gamer, pro gaming side. Totally ignore them. Once again, these tips were brought to you courtesy Adam Baldwin and the Twitter Gulag Defense Network. I don't know if they're still up and running, but they were at one time. And these tweets, these tips came from them. Now, having given you tips from someone else, I want to give you 3 tips of my own. Tips to protect yourself on Twitter. People are being doxxed. People are being hacked. Bad things are happening. These are not necessarily, these are tips not on how to protect your account from false spam. My tips are on how to protect your account and yourself from intrusion and being compromised. Number 1, my tip, activate 2-factor authentication. Every single time I go to log in to Twitter, I also have to go to my cell phone and authenticate it. No one, even if they found the password I use on my account, no one can log into my Twitter account unless they steal my cell phone and can get into it. It's a very strong, and if that happens, you're in deep trouble anyway. It's a very, very, very strong security measure to protect your account from being compromised. Just a suggestion. Number 2, this one is primarily for the straight males in the audience, possibly the bi or lesbians in the audience. Be on the lookout for hot chick spam. I'll give you a second to laugh at that before I tell you why that's serious. Hot chick spam is when someone follows you out of the blue for no good reason, and you notice that their profile picture is an unreasonably attractive woman taken from a magazine or a photo shoot or something like that, whether you recognize it or not, maybe even a selfie, but a selfie of an unreasonably attractive woman. Supermodels don't follow you on Twitter out of the blue for no reason. If you're not famous and they're too hot for you in real life, they're too hot for you on Twitter. Don't follow back. And I'll tell you why. Because as soon as you follow someone back, that means they can DM you. They can direct message you. And if you reply to that direct message because you're dumb enough to think that a supermodel is following you out of the blue for no good reason, they can compromise your Twitter account. I believe that two-factor authentication will prevent that. But at the same time, why take the chance? A few weeks ago, we had several people get compromised by spammers who started using their accounts to send out spam, okay? If you don't know the person and they followed you and they're sending you a direct message, do not reply, because replying to that direct message is what allows them to begin compromising your account. That, by the way, is advice I got again from Adam Baldwin. Hot chick spam is the bait they throw out for you to be gullible, for you to start thinking with your intimate parts and not your brain. It is how I first flagged. You remember that death threat guy in Brazil? I first clocked him the very first time I saw him because he was a hot chick spammer. He sent me a follow with an unreasonably attractive woman on it. I went to the account. It was a picture from a modeling session. The background was a professional set, like a Broadway show. I said, something's funky here. I found out later he was issuing death threats, so we got him taken down. Hot chick spam. Be on the lookout for it. By the way, that's my term. That's not a term you're going to see on any other website, probably because I intentionally crafted it to be offensive to people who I like offending. Just be aware. If someone follows you out of the blue for no good reason and they're too attractive for you in real life, they're too attractive for you on Twitter. Last but not least, was that mean? I don't apologize. I don't care. If that was mean, it was mean. Learn how to protect yourselves. Last but not least is virtual private networking. I put up a post, a twit longer, about this. My suggestion is use a virtual private network. What that does is it protects you from people discovering your IP address. When people discover your IP address, that's the address your computer gets when you go online. When they discover your IP address, they can use that to discover your physical location. It's not as easy with IPv4. It'll be a lot easier with IPv6, so just get in the habit right now. If they discover your physical location and they have bits of detail about you or your life that they can glean from a blog or from your tweets, they can start narrowing down your location. That's one of the ways you get doxxed. With a VPN, you have a secure encrypted connection to another company. And as far as the rest of the internet is concerned, your IP address is not the one that your cable provider or your internet provider or your satellite provider gives you. It's the one that the company has that you're paying money for or getting for free. So once again, VPN, it's like a cloak of invisibility on the internet. It's not perfect, and it can cause some problems, especially with live gaming. Sorry, folks. But when you go to browse the web, when you go to Twitter, when you go to any website that's not live gaming, use a VPN. Mine costs $7 a month. That is not a lot of money to invest in protecting yourself on the internet. I started using one 6 or 7 months ago, and by God, am I happy now that I'm involved in Gamergate. Those are my 3 pieces of advice, my 3 tips for you to practice safe tweeting. So, if anybody has any questions, you can email them to me at daddy.warpig@yahoo.com. I'll try to get back to you about those on the next show or on Twitter or just an email. daddy.warpig@yahoo.com. It's a scary, scary time. People are targeting us, and they're targeting us because they're getting bad information from the media. Speaking of bad information from the media, I want to go to Vox. Gamergate's scary plan to wipe Gawker Media from the face of the earth. Was that an abrupt transition? I certainly hope so. Vox, who is the parent company of Polygon, who is the parent company of The Verge, both of whom have spread lies about the pro-ethics, pro-gamer, pro-gaming side. I call us the pros for obvious reasons. Plus, we're better at this than the antis. We're the pros. And also, we're better people in general, it seems, looking at what happens out there on Twitter and the rest of the internet. One of the most fascinating things, they're upset. Boy, Vox is upset. They're upset because we targeted Gawker and we are driving away their advertisers, and Vox thinks that's terrifying. They think that's frightening. They think that's evil. But let me tell you what Slate posted the other day. Slate, in an article that was not friendly to Gamergate, says this about Gawker. Let's see. Gawker has terrorized celebrities, especially female celebrities, for years. Gawker claims to be about journalism, but they're actually about harassment. They published stolen nudes of Olivia Munn and Heller Morris, outed Peter Thiel, slut-shamed Christine O'Donnell, violated Amanda Bynes' privacy, and used the tone-deaf headline, "Gooks don't get Redskins" joke. Gawker-owned Jezebel dubs Gamergate a hate group, and it offers $10,000 for unretouched photos of Lena Dunham and links to stolen news of Christina Hendricks. Now, it seems to me one of the positive side effects of Gamergate is that in addition to pushing the ethics in journalism, which is the core of everything we do, we want the adoption of a professional code of ethics. We want people to stop insulting their audience, and we want them to stop using their reviews as ideological clubs. In addition to gently nudging the games media profession in that direction, we are also putting the hurt on Gawker. And for all of those reasons I just listed, it's a good thing anyway. We are doing good far beyond what is even our direct goal, which is encouraging to me, because that's a sign that we're doing the right thing. Even though Vox thinks that's scary and terrifying and horrifying and, oh my God, won't somebody stop them, please? It's a good thing. Hat tip from Fart to Continue for first posting that story where I noticed it. Our next story, and our last, because we're running out of time, is the House of Privilege. I just want to read to you something real quick. This is from one of the literally who's. Hat tip to Sargon of Akkad and Ralph Retort for bringing this to my attention. Quoting from a tweet, "When I was 20, my parents handed me $200,000 to start an animation business. I learned more from that experience than anything in college." Now, earlier today, I went on a rant, posted a bunch of responses to that, but I'm going to skip those responses in the interest of quoting two other members of the pros. GM Shivers, Jennifer Daw, I'm sorry, I'm too wound up to do that cute little kitten baby thing. Aw. Oh, wait, maybe I'm not. GM Shivers tweeted this in response. I started a business at 19 with no money. I think I learned a lot more as I had to be frugal. And then Polar Roller, J. Millerworks, tweeted this. I circumnavigated the globe, bought a car, house, and equipment for my studio with less than this person pissed away at the age of 20, and I paid my student loans. Now, I sat down and calculated it. With $200,000, I could run this show for 50 years. Not paying my personal expenses, but the expenses for equipment and internet access and replacing equipment and programs and things like that. 50 years. I could run this show with $200,000. And they couldn't do anything with it. They pissed it away. That's how much a house costs, and they pissed it away. Nothing to show for it. It seems to me, and these are the kind of comments that get sort of a disapproving cluck from certain members of Gamergate, although I'm grateful that Ralph and Roguestar are around because it draws a lot of less tactful people like me. It seems to me that a person whose parents are millionaire entrepreneurs who is given as a gift $200,000 comes from a background of privilege. It seems to me that most of these aunties, most of these social justice warriors come from a background of privilege. And most of the people involved in the pro side, most of the pros I know are not. They're real people who have worked really hard to get where they are. I could editorialize further about that, but honestly, I don't have to. It's an observation that speaks for itself. I am your host, Daddy Warpig. This is the Kick-Ass Geek Cast. Every weeknight from 7 to 7:30 p.m. right here on on YouTube. Thinking about emails in the back of my mind. YouTube. Subscribe. Like the video. Retweet it. Spread it on Facebook or Google Plus or wherever you go. If you feel the joy from the show, share the joy with your friends. You can catch my blog at daddywarpig.com, daddywarpig.com, or follow me on Twitter at daddy_warpig, at daddy_warpig. I am your host, signing off for tonight. I will be back.